welcome to our first episode, Humanitarian Community Connect Media. Our first interviewer is a great man, is a great humanitarian, and he has a great story. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and very nice to have you and to have me in the studio.
Great. Tell us who you are.
Thank you. My name is Bishop David Munyiri Thagana. I'm actually born in Kenya and live in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm born in Nyeri, Karatina. I've grown in Nyandarua County. My work as a high school teacher, I taught in my own county, Karima Girls High School, on the slopes of Aberdare Mountains in Kinangop, that's Nyandarua County. And while I was teaching there, God birthed a vision in me for a ministry which is called GOA, or Glory Outreach Assembly. And so the ministry has grown, and since that was in 1991. So when I went to start teaching there on 1st of April 1988, having graduated and posted there by teachers. So the students that I taught in Karima Girls High School for 10 years, and some of them are likely to be online because wherever I go I meet them. We really bonded together as a patron of the Christian Union, as a teacher, as a sports person, as a teacher of English and Christian religious education, as a teacher of physical education. So we bonded with those students, and after 10 years I had to leave teaching because the ministry of GOA had grown very much. And when I left teaching and focused primarily on GOA, then I had to move to Nairobi, where currently I live. My office is at GOA Kahawa Wendani in Nairobi, and I live in Thome. So I am a Nairobi person. Other than that, I am a married man, and I am blessed to be serving in the ministry with my children. I am also a grandfather, and I am blessed to be able to honor and to see my grandchildren. I have 5 of them right now, and that is from the biological children. But I have many more grandchildren through the children that I have raised in the children's homes. Because, and I know we'll be talking about ministry, yes. So I'll be able to help you understand and help the viewer understand how I am talking of having more than biological grandchildren. We'll come to that later. Yes. But basically, I am the founder and the presiding bishop of Glory Outreach Assembly. I am also the general secretary of the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya. That is all the evangelical churches that are indigenous in Kenya. I'm the general secretary, and we'll be talking about that too and what our role is in that. And I am also the international director of International Leadership Institute for all the countries that speak English and Swahili in the entire continent of Africa. So that makes me travel to different parts of Africa and to do some work. And given the opportunity, we can talk about that too. So in a nutshell, I think that's whom I am. But right now, I am also becoming a businessman. Yes. So in addition to all that, I am right now becoming a businessman. I am learning 1 or 2 businesses here and there, primarily because I want the ministry of GOA to start thinking about sustainable ways of supporting the work that we do, which I believe that we will talk about that work. So because of that desire to want the ministry to become sustainable in the future, I personally have engaged in business ideas and looking for businessmen and women who can open up my mind in that space of business, entrepreneurs, because that is not where I have been. I've been in the field of education, I've been in the field of clergy, and now I feel it is a season to move the organization also, in addition to that, towards sustainability.
Wow.
Particularly, we have actually started real estate already, and we can talk about that later, and we are looking for partners towards that. So I'm a businessman also, and personally as a person I'm also engaging in transport industry.
Wow.
I've just started small, but for now I only have just 2 buses that are carrying people along Nairobi CBD to Kagudo.
Wow.
So that is the other side of me, which I really don't talk much about. But there is much more. I hope that's a short summary of who Bishop David Munyiri Thagana is, and for purposes of more knowing me more, I am available in all the social media. Anywhere, one can just go to my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, and from my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, you'll even be able to see my humble beginnings, which I believe we'll talk about.
Yes.
I am also available on Facebook, even Bishop David Munyiri Thagana. So all those social medias, Twitter, I mean everything, Instagram, TikTok, everything, I'm in all those. I am a public figure and in the public domain. So my story is there. I actually also have a personal website, which is davidthagana.com. So somebody can find out that. Plus the other websites of GOA, GOAweb.org, GOA USA. So basically that's whom I am.
Wow. Wow. Yes. I think you have talked about a humble beginning. Would like to hear that more, so that we may see this man. Maybe our viewers, they'll come to know and have a picture who is Bishop Thagana is. This man has really done tremendous things. He has impacted many lives, and that is why Bishop, give us your humble beginning. Let it be. Let us see it, how it was from when you are young, from your family, from the nuclear family.
Thank you for that opportunity, Anthony. I think that's a long story, and
I know.
and we can just introduce it for today. But a book is coming. We are finishing the book in December.
Wow!
And we are going to launch the book on my birthday on 9th of March next year. So that story is already being put into a book. But again, as I said earlier, I am born in Karatina. Anybody watching who know Karatina town is very near the hospital. There's a hospital for the district hospital. There is also, it is next to the veterinary, that's where animals are actually treated. So if you just take the route towards the Kiarithaini, the very first, I think the fourth piece of land, Iriaine location there, that's where our home is. We are near what used to be the initial campus of Karatina University. Or initial, even before that, it used to be Riverbank. I think many people know it very much because of my neighbor there, the late Karungaro, and his daughter, who is in the politics, Margaret, who was associated with the first governor of Nyeri County, and currently also in the same line with the deputy president, Legathe Gachagua. So that neighborhood is where my home is. And there, if you ask the Thagana family, everybody will tell you. So I was actually born in that area from a very humble background. Our family lives in that area, has lived in that area. My grandparents, I was fortunate enough to be able to see my grandparents, both from my father and my mother's side. We were really needed in the real sense of the word. Sometimes I avoid using the word poor, but it is the right English word. Or humble to be spiritual, but but all I'm saying, whether we use the word humble beginning, or poor according to grammar, or needy, but we came from such a family, whichever way one would want to describe it. And when I say that, I'm talking of moving from that particular location of the Iriaini location home and walking to Kiamwangi Primary School there in Karatina, barefoot, for both nursery and primary, no shoe, sometimes no food to eat, sometimes, I mean, just barely poor, and wearing the same uniform throughout the 7 days a week. And when I was growing up, I grew to hate poverty with a lot of passion. And including today, I hate poverty with a lot of passion. And because I could see some children who are doing very well. I could see children who are well up, children who are actually wasting whatever they had, whatever we thought to us would be precious. And I desired that I too would belong to such a family, but I could not change my situation. But therefore I started asking myself how I could make my situation better in the future, and how probably in the future I would also change the lives of other people when I get that opportunity. When I was in class 2 in Kiamwangi Primary School, I was already thinking about how I can change the lives of our family, and also the life of other people. At class 2, I was thinking of how can I make things better, so that I'm thinking like a boy that time. I was thinking about how can I make our family have shoes, how can I make sure that there are no other children who do not walk barefoot like me. How can I make sure that we eat meat, because meat was very precious and we were only getting the smell from the neighbors. How could I was thinking along those lines of food, clothes, both my life and others. And of course my father was a hawker in Nairobi City. So we never got to spend much time with him hawking those years. Very risky. So we spent a lot of time with our mother and grew there. So I really was thinking of how can I also change at least her life, because I used to see her wearing the same dress every day, day and night for a whole week, a nylon dress. And I would see sometimes, because we would sit around the fire, I would see if the sparks of the fire got into her dress, then it start burning. And I would ask myself, how can I change this situation? So that is the kind of background that I grew in, needy, poor, thinking about, instead of mourning and pity party about crying all the time, what can I do? So in class 2, I don't know whether God gave me an idea. I don't know whether I just thought. I don't know how to call it or where it came from. But I thought that I see many people transporting their food to the Karatina market, because Karatina market is very close to where we are. And I would see people pushing their wheelbarrow with taking their cabbage, their bananas, their things to the market, and they would come back with bread, and sometimes they would come back with meat, and they would be talking about how they sold their cabbage or their farm products, and how they have bought the things that I desire that we have. So at class 2, I thought, what if I also started planting cabbages at that time? So I said, let me plant one, because that is what was within my reach. So I planted one cabbage, a sugar cabbage that grows like this, like a pyramid kind of. And the sugar, and I would come from school and water it, go to my grandfather's a place where he keeps his cows and get some manure and put on it and water it and water it. Finally, the cabbage grew. And I said, now it's time to go to the market like anybody else in Karatina market. And I went to the market, I took the cabbage and sold it on a Saturday for 75 cents.
Wow.
Now,
but that time,
that was a lot of money by that time.
That is what?
That was 1972.
Wow.
And you know, I felt rich, I felt a millionaire, I felt a businessman, I felt a great farmer. I began to feel like I own my own money now, 75 cents. But you know, the mind of a child was still thinking about food, clothes, things like that. And the mind of a child at that age, class 2, I was not thinking that money will ever get finished. I thought it will be there forever. Now, luckily enough, this was the early part of 1972, and we were going to move from Karatina to Laisheri in Daragwa in Nyandarua County in August. So now I was saying, should I hold on to this money so that when we are going to, we're moving, and we are moving completely to go and be living in Nyandarua. The reasons for moving, we can talk about that another day, because that is because of was because of the in-law conflicts.
I think you put it in your book.
It is in my book. Somebody can. It's actually a whole chapter of how the conflict, the in-law conflict between my grandparents and my mother, while my father was still working in Nairobi, how that made my father decide that the only way to solve this is to move my family, because I cannot move my. Actually, those were his words, because he said, instead of every time I come from Nairobi, you are talking about the problems, and I can't move my family, my parents. It is you that I can move. So he moved us to Raisheri, and I was in class 2. So on 28th of August, 1972, we woke up very early and boarded the only bus that was commuting from Karatina to Nyahururu. It was called Travelers Bus. It was the only bus.
The only bus. Travelers.
And you had to go to be in Karatina by 3 a.m. to board it, because everybody along the way was waiting for it to go to Nyahururu. And we packed all our things. Remember, I am aware of the man now. I have 75 cents in my pocket. And I am listening to the conversations about how the journey will be from Karatina to Nyahururu. And people are saying, if we had money, like the other people who are wealthy, that bus normally stops at a place called Gobet, and people come out and they buy meat. So I'm hearing people saying, if we have money, I wish we had money, we would buy meat like anybody else. So I'm keeping quiet, and I know I have money. Long story short, the bus stopped at Gobet. I bought everybody meat with my 75 cents. The money remained. It never got finished. So when we got to Nyahururu, unfortunately, my mother forgot her backpack in the bus, which had some of her few clothes. So she had no other clothes other than the one she was wearing. And we realized when the bus has already gone back.
What?
So I told her, don't worry, I have money. So right there at the stage in Nyahururu, I bought her a nylon dress with the same amount of money that I had, and a first nylon dress. So now we were ready to move. I can tell you that from that experience of feeding our family with meat and precious things at Gobet, to buying my mother a dress, and I think I remained with the 1 cent and 50 cents, 10 cents and 50 cents or something like that. So that which I remained with. I began to feel that sometimes you may not change the whole world, but you can change the world of one person. Sometimes it is not the big things that we do that makes a difference. It is the heart that we have, and the vision of what we want to do. And I began to feel that things are not as bad as I think they are, and they don't have to remain like that. I began to learn that all of us are products of certain pasts. I happen to have come from a past that is humble or poor or needy. And we cannot change that past, but we can change the future. I began to learn those lessons at that early age, that we are all products of past. Some pasts are not good, some are painful, some people hurt us, some have to do with poverty, some, but we may not change those, but we can refuse to become prisoners of those pasts.
Oh, yes.
And we can set ourselves free and change our future. And that is the mind in which I grew, I grew up with. Then at this point, I remember I have not had any exposure to the gospel. I have not known Christ at this point. But long story short, when I was getting to high school, I got to know about Christ. And now that again changed my perspective.
Yeah.
What I already knew, that I can change my history and change my history of my family and others through hard work and through entrepreneurship, like one cabbage. When I became to know Christ in a Presbyterian conference in Kaba Technical in Daragwa, that changed my life again, because I went to Raisheri Primary, I went to Rishao Secondary. When I was in Rishao Secondary, I learned that there is a camp meeting for youth where I can go and experience. By that time, I have not known Christ yet.
You mean you went to primary school
in Raisheri Primary School
and secondary school at the same village?
In the same, today they call it, according to the Kenyan language, there is a location, and there is a ward.
Yes.
So I would say that it is the same ward, same county, same constituency, because the Raisheri Primary and Darago and Rishao are all in the same area.
I didn't know that.
Yes, yes. So I was, in other words, I was a typical village boy, and that is important, because in the future I'll talk about other chapters of the book, of how I moved from being a village boy to at least national,
international.
Before international,
yes.
National at least. You see, this is a boy who has only been in Nyeri County and now in Nyandarua County. We are neighbors.
Yes.
For many, many years, that's all he knows.
Wow.
Actually, the first time that I went outside those two counties is when I went to Kijabe High School for Form 5 and 6. That's when I at least went to Kiabu, another county. So this is a boy who is, and all that is what we used to call in those days Central Province. So a local boy, that's what I'm saying, who has come from such humble backgrounds. And then the Lord, so when I met the Lord, I came to know the Lord.
Now you have gone to secondary school?
I've gone to high secondary school.
That is where you
I started asking questions about the faith. And there were no people to answer my questions about the faith. And that will make another chapter of how important it is for people to represent Christ in their place of work.
Okay.
In the 7 mountains of influence. If you are in education, you influence that mountain of education. Teachers, Christian Union, those will be other chapters in my book in the future. Because at Rishao, there was no Christian Union, there was no Christian, there was nobody who you could ask any question. Even the commonly known as Kenya Student Christian Fellowship were not there those days. So there was little nobody. So when I started asking questions about the faith, I remember one person saying, you go and ask the CRA teacher.
Or now you are
inquiring
asking your fellow students.
Yes, because I'm getting a conviction. You know, we have been told to go with the Bible, and I'm beginning to learn that Bible in Form 1, and it is beginning to raise questions, especially when I opened the first time in 1 John chapter 1. Hey, the Bible started talking about that we have all sinned. God is right. If we say we have no sin, we make him a liar. The truth is not in us. I started feeling some guilt with that. I don't want to make God a liar. I don't want to be separated from him.
Yes.
So I continued reading 1 John chapter 1, and I got to verse 9
Yes.
of 1 John chapter 1, which said, but, of course I had started learning a little bit of English, so I knew that when you hear the word but, that is a contrast. It means that it is changing the story.
The story, yeah.
That was being
so
was being told. I knew the story of making God a liar, being a sinner, being in darkness. There is a but now. So I was interested in understanding the but. And when I read but, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and he will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So I thought there was a solution there, that there was going to be another change, like my economic life of the cabbage. Now my spiritual life, there is a but here, it can also change. But the greatest question was, what is this confess? You know, sometimes biblical language, we think they are easy, but unless you have someone to help you understand, if you have not been exposed to it, then it just remains another complex situation. So here it's saying, but if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and he will cleanse from all unrighteousness. I asked everybody, what is this confess? How does one confess? How do you? Some people started telling me, forget about that. It doesn't mean much. One person told me, why don't you ask the CRA teacher? Because he's the one who knows the whole Bible. Because he's the one who teaches the Bible.
True.
But I'm telling you, our CRA teacher, so I went to him. He was called Mr. Mboro. Mr. Mboro in Lechao Secondary.
Mr. Boro.
Mr. Mboro in Lechao Secondary did not know the Lord, and he was a chain smoker. He would change one cigarette to the other. On Monday, we had CRA lessons, and I used to sit in front, and he would come very drunk from the hangover of the weekend, and I had to move from the front seat to the back seat, because by the time he finished CRA lessons, I was already feeling drunk myself with the smell from his weekends. So that is the man I was going to ask, what does it mean to confess?
Oh my
so
God.
I went to ask him, and he said, forget about that. That is fanaticism. No, I will not ask you questions, CRA questions on that. Forget about it. But that same day, I found a guy who said, these questions you have been asking about the faith, there is a camp meeting in Kambat Technical held by the Presbyterian ministers of Daragwa Parish every April. They can answer questions like those. I'm telling you, I had to walk all the way from Raishiri through Daragwa to Kambat Technical for 3 days to be able to get an answer of how to connect to the faith.
Yes.
When I got there, I was led to the Lord. I accepted Christ. And I'm telling you, Anthony, every part of my journey has contributed to who I am today. Because that day when the preacher was opening what we call theme exposition in the conference, he spoke from the same 1 John.
Wow.
That I was already having questions on. And he spoke about it, he answered all the questions. Then he completed by saying, whoever would like to confess their sins, it is simple. He said, it is simple. You just come here and you kneel down, you repeat the prayer after me, and you speak to God. And he made it so simple. So I walked to the front. Of course, to walk to the front was not very easy for me. It was very difficult. Because in this camp meeting, I was accompanied by my younger brother. His name is Chris. And I want you to meet Chris one day.
Yeah.
Chris, he'll tell you his story. Because when I was going to church way, he went to prison and got jailed for 7 years in Kengongo. Wow. And that is how life is. You whichever way you choose, it will lead you somewhere.
Is that story in the book?
It will be in the book. I'm asking him to write his story himself there as a chapter.
Yeah.
As a chapter.
Okay,
and even before that, you'll meet him, because while in prison in Kingongo for 7 years, he started seeing people who getting out of prison and then coming back and meeting them there. They have been released, but they have come back.
Okay.
Then he started asking himself, we thought outside there is where freedom is.
Yes.
How comes that people are going out and then they are again coming back, they are jailed? He learned that they are going out there and they are not being accepted by their families. So what they are doing is that they are committing crime, sometimes intentionally, so that they go back to prison where they have been used to. So he thought that this is something needs to be done about this. And so when he got out of prison, he came to us. My wife Joyce and I led him to Christ in our house in Dome in Nairobi after he came from prison. And then he shared with us about the vision of what he wants to do for the prisoners. And so he ended up starting Chris Halfway Home. Chris Halfway Home is his vision. He is the director. It is right there in Karatina where we were born, at my parents' place. And later, he became the pastor of GOA Karatina. So he is the pastor of GOA Karatina. He's the director of Chris Halfway Home. And we are looking forward to having visitors coming to our home to celebrate our parents on November 2nd. And Chris is the person on the ground. We have just set that day as a day of celebrating parents. So I was saying that to say he has a story that you will get to meet him. But I was talking about how I met the Lord in Kaba Technical, in a Presbyterian church of East Africa camp meeting in Kaba. And the minister who led me to the Lord was called Reverend Munyiri. He went to the Lord, and I'm glad that he helped me know what to confess is. So he asked me a question. He said, before I pray for you, I want to introduce you to a life of prayer. So that because now you are getting into another life of prayer.
Yes.
And the way I'll introduce you to a life of... by that time I'm kneeling down waiting for him to lead me to confess. Yes. Because that's why I walked to the front.
Yes.
So he's talking to me and I'm kneeling there. He's saying, before I pray for you, I want to introduce you to a life of prayer. And so can you tell me one or two things that you'd like us to pray for now, so that when God answers those prayers, you in your new life as a new believer, you are going to learn how to pray and you'll be motivated to pray. I say to him, I never even thought twice. Number one, tell God, I don't want to see anybody in my lifetime or my family having to walk for 3 days like I have done to come and find out what to confess is. Or to come and have the questions of the gospel answered. Wow. I would like the gospel to be taken closer to the people and people to hear about it faster without struggling like I have. Number two.
Now that is the first day now.
I am still kneeling and he has not prayed for me. He is introducing me to a life of prayer. I'm a new believer. I'm waiting for him to pray for me. I said the second thing, I do not want, if I will ever have a family, because I don't think I can raise a family with this kind of poverty that I've been brought up. I don't want my children to be suffering to the way I have suffered.
Yes.
But if I ever do that,
I
don't want children to walk barefoot.
Wow.
He looked at me, he said, those are godly answers, and God has led you into that. Long story short, that is why today I am taking care of orphans, because of the prayer that I was prayed for, and that other children do not have to be in the streets, do not have to lack food. That is why today I am taking the gospel to the Unleashed People group. And so when GOA, when I got to an opportunity to start GOA in 1991 in Donyonjero as a high school teacher.
Bishop, before you go there.
Yes.
Now, take us to your journey to now where you went college.
Thank you very much. Maseno University, an area called Seriba near Maseno High School, that is where I went to college. And that is where I became. Actually, let me go back
You
a
went
little.
out of your village.
Let me go back. Let me go back a little bit. Let me go back a little bit. Let me go back a little bit. I have come from Lechao Secondary School. I've gone to Kijabe High School from 5 and 6.
Okay.
I have. So now at least I have been to Nyandarua, Nyeri County, and now Kiabu. All of them Central Province.
Yes.
And now, after that, I went now to Maseno area. That was the longest ride that I have ever had, and went to a different place. So I got there, trained there, and I grew a lot as a Christian I grew a lot as a Christian in Kijabe, and I know one of the mature sisters who helped us grow might be watching us. Because she one time she wrote to me on Facebook and said she lives here in the United States. She got married. She helped us very much in Kijabe, and the mature sisters who are older than us, and I'm very grateful to that kind of upbringing. And then so because that's where I grew very much in Kijabe. See, I have just known the Lord. I have come to the A level.
Yes.
Now I have I came to a very strong Christian union where we would have many people coming over the weekend. Those who know Kijabe High School, it is next to the entire AIM mission, the AIC church there.
Yes.
We have the Moffat Bible College.
Yes.
Those guys helped us grow so much. Anybody watching me who a Moffat alumni, especially of 1980, 81, 82, 83, 84 there, thank you very much. I owe a lot to that heritage, and that will make another chapter in the Bible.
Yes.
The Christian Union of the Medical School in Kijabe helped us a lot. We would, in the afternoon they would come, they would teach us Bible study, they would pray with us. The place for printing down there, I don't remember whatever the printing place is called there in Kijabe. They would come and encourage us to write articles in the magazines, to the extent that when I became a teacher in Karema, the first thing I did was to start a magazine for the school called Karema Mira. And then I came to print it in Kijabe, where I was. My life has been a connection. Nothing has gone to waste in every stage that I have passed through. Every relationship that I ever built, even today, is contributing. And even from this show,
I can agree with you.
even from this show, some of the people who will contact me and who will know that I'm still alive, because some might be thinking I died with COVID, you know. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. You know, many people died in COVID. So these days you ask, where is so and so? Oh, don't you know? He died during COVID. I am alive, breathing and well, and doing international missions. So some of the people who connect with me through this, especially those who live in the United States. And I know there are many of them in Seattle, there are many of them in California and other places that I don't know.
And even Canada.
And even Canada. Actually, on Facebook once in a while, I see my former students, especially Karema, writing and saying, oh, Mwalim, teacher, when you come to America, please come and visit me.
You are here now.
Now I am here. Now I'm here, and I'm going to be here until the 20th of this month that we have started today. Then I'll go back because of the many other responsibilities that I have. So, but I am interested in connecting with anyone who is interested in changing lives of people.
I know.
That is what I am about. I'm interested in changing the lives of people. So you took me back to a back chapter of where I went to college. And so I went to college, and I was posted to Karema Girls on 1st of April, 1988.
Let me ask you, how did you choose your career? Because many young people, that is where, because I don't want to talk about your calling, I want to talk about your career. Because the time you came to Tigoni to preach to us, you had two caps. One, you were a teacher, and the second one, you were a pastor. You know, and I was like, how did you know now this is my career?
That is a $1 million question, Anthony, and thank you for asking. You know, when you ask me questions like that, you bring back memories of where things that I always wanted to do. When I went to Leshao, Leshao was not an old school, and in the chapter, in one of the chapters of the book that is in my mind that I'm writing, I have talked about it doesn't matter where you go to school. It is not the school that has your destiny. And I've talked about how we went to Leshao. We were among the first. It was a day school, struggling. Let me not go into that chapter. Somebody will read it in the Bible,
yes.
in the book that I write. So I've talked about how I struggled in day school, cooking for myself, sometimes living with the relatives and friends of my parents. My late aunt, helped me a lot. Who was the principal of Gaidadia Secondary School, Mrs. Gishuru. She helped me a lot to encourage me to go and work hard. I would come from her home in Gaidadia, and I would go to Leshao, and she was telling me, you keep working hard, and we listed her in the Lord, and may the Lord just blessed her. But I know her children are watching because they also live in this country, and they have also asked me to visit them many times, and we give a lot of tribute and credit to her for the many people she helped. I'm one of those. So we stayed with people back and forth to school. Finally, I rented a small house in near the school, Leshao, Mutanga. In other words, I'm trying to say I had not performed very well in the primary school. And that's another chapter also in the book. I am not those genius. You know, sometimes when people see you succeeding in life, they think that you are born a genius. I'm not that genius. I'm not a genius myself. I'm one of those who work very hard to be able to understand, especially those days. And we used to put our legs in cold water so that we don't doze, to be able to read and finish the work. So I really, and then another chapter in the book that I write is on issues of mental health, because I got some mental health issues when I was in standard 7, which affected my performance. I was ranging position 1 to 3 in the lower part of the primary. Then when I got these issues of mental health in class 7, which actually took me even to Kenyatta Hospital, even to Madale, and that's a whole book. And I have preached a sermon on a mental health day in my YouTube. It's already there.
When you say Madare, what do you mean? Because many might not understand.
Madare is a hospital, is a national hospital in Nairobi for those people who have mental issues.
You went there?
Yes.
In class 7?
Yes, I have a file in Madare.
Bishop?
So when people say everybody has a bit of their madness, it's only the degree that matters. I understand what that means. My degree was very high that time because I went there. And I really don't want to talk about that today. Let it be a chapter for another day, because I give a lot of credit to my mother, how we struggled, and she was going with me Kenyatta. I knew for the first time I knew bus number 7 goes to Kenyatta with her, and sometimes we would be passed to another place. And I'm still mentally struggling. I went back to that chapter to say that I wasn't that good. So I never made it. The mental health situation made me not get very good marks at the certificate of primary education, because so I only qualified to go to Leshao Secondary School, which was a day school. And when I tell this story and write it as a chapter in my book, it's because I want a viewer, especially those who are parents, to know that it is so important not to put pressure in your children.
Yes.
Because here I had the pressure to perform well. I'm in class 7. I have the pressure of many other things, peer pressure, many things, and I want to perform well. I remember I'm the boy who want to change things in the family. So when every teacher comes and talks about for you to live a good life, you have to get 36 points out of 36. You have to go to Alliance or Mangu or wherever, and then at home you are pushed the same way. Remember how much we are struggling here. If you don't perform, you are going to live a life of poverty. All that, and being the boy who wants to bring change, that is what led to my mental breakdown at class 7. Consequently, never performed well, and consequently went to a day school that was being started where you could not even get a Christian union or anybody. And by all that, I have never known the Lord. And my life began to change. Let alone I went to Kijabe for Form 5 and 6. Let me back up, because the reason I have gone to that is because you asked me about career. That's why I went back to Leshao.
Yes.
In Leshao Secondary School, being a small school, that's why I was describing a school, pioneering school. I think we were among the first people to do the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. There wasn't really, we were relying on teachers employed as not by the government, not trained, untrained teachers. So we really didn't have a career guidance that would be of much help. So back to your question, I wanted to become a journalist. I wanted to become a news media person. I wanted to become a person who specifically deals with the news, and not all news. Sports news.
I think
sports news.
I heard you saying on a national TV in Kenya about that.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for the national TV in Kenya, because over time, God is using them to bring back my dream of what I wanted to be. Where you had me saying that, it was at Inoro TV with Kamau Kangede. Kamau Kangede hosts me at Inoro TV frequently with the Joroge Gizenji. And that's where I was telling him that I'm very grateful because of him and the loyal media, and the loyal media friends, many of them there who invites me to tell my story. And there are very many, very many, including one of the directors there, Vincent Kimani, and including Jeremiah Rifali, the many friends, Fidelis Wanganga, those are my friends and fans, Amos Weru Mwangi, and many other Inoro friends, both in the FM and in the TV. They have encouraged me to learn that it is not too late to be whom you to be whom you would have been.
Oh yes.
They give me the opportunity, and even being here today in this media platform, it is part of what I wanted to be. It might be a little late for me. For me at this age, but that is what I wanted to be. Back to your question of career, I lacked that career. If I got that career guidance at Leshao Secondary School in those years, I think I would have landed to Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
Yes.
Because that was the big one that time.
Yes.
And
the only one.
And the only one.
Yes.
Because the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication on Mombasa Road, and there was the Voice of Kenya, VOK, was the only, which is KBC today. That is the line I wanted. Do you know why I wanted to be that?
No.
Because I admired Leonard Mambo Botera.
Oh,
I wanted to be. I wanted to be talking about the sports.
Yeah.
I wanted to be. When the small radios in the village were tuned on, and I heard Leonard Mambo Botera talking about sports. Kadegana mpira, goal! That's what I was admiring. Musikilizaji wangu.
Yeah.
And Muhammad Ali. I mean, those. I was always glued to the small radios in the neighborhood during the safari rallies.
Yes.
Because Leonard Mambo would be there helping us to feel like we are part of the safari rally. he would say Jogida Singh, Jogida Singh, Jogida Singh. Uyo namba moja. Patrick Jiro, Patrick Jiro.
Yes.
Those are the things that I admired as a boy. And as I grew, as a young man, I desired to become like Leonard Mambo Botera, or rather to become a newscaster.
Yes.
Now that did not happen.
Yes.
But it is happening now.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm doing right here this morning at Salem, Oregon,
now,
in the United States.
And actually you have done it for many years since I knew you, especially from 2002. You have been always in the media.
The Lord just opens doors for me to be in the media. And I'm telling you, and I would like my viewer today to understand, some of the dreams that our children have, or we have ourselves when we are young, let us not just despise them. They may not become that time. And going back to Habakkuk again, that though a vision may tarry, it shall surely come to pass. Because what I wanted to do then, I do it now. Might be a late age in life, but I'm doing it for the right motivation. It is now beyond the Leonard Mambo. Yes. It is now beyond the sports. It is now beyond the Safari Rally. I love the media, and I love using every opportunity in the media to be able to connect people who have resources with people who are needed the way I was then. That is one thing I love the media about, that through the media platforms I am able to reach people whom I cannot reach in person. Yes. For example, I have I've been in this US trip for I think 2 weeks now, and I have reached quite a number of people where I have traveled in Georgia, in Tampa, Florida, and now I am here in Salem, Oregon. The people I'm going to reach today are probably more than those I have met since I came here.
Oh yes.
And probably more than those that I will meet in the remaining 21 days that I am in this great land of the United States, because of the media. And let me tell you, Anthony, I have met people through the media who have become major partners of my organization, Glory Outreach Assembly. And you can't believe when I show you what they are doing in Kenya today, and then you hear that some of them I've never even met them face to face. I just give my contact here, they pick it, they communicate with me. The next thing I hear is that they want to sponsor a child. And they start sponsoring a child. I connect them with our agency here in Georgia for child sponsorship. Some have never met them, but they listen to me on Inolo TV, or right from Kenya, and they live here, or other places, or some met me on Facebook. Some of the churches whom we are partnering with today in this United States, I've never met those people in person. It is through the media. They expressed, they went to find out more after a show like this. And before I knew it, then some are already sponsoring children, others are building classrooms, others have even now come physically, and I met them through the media.
Now, Bishop, I know you are doing a lot of things.
Yes.
And I know there is a great team behind you that is helping you to accomplish all this. But now give us transition from your career to your calling.
Well, powerful experience in that transition. So after starting to teach in Karema Girls in 1st of April 1988, and remember, I have been in Siriba, where I have grown so much spiritually. So the two places that I accredit my discipleship and growth, one is Kijabe, in the advanced level, with people like Naomi. I've remembered Naomi and other people, Esther, Naomi is in Georgia, Esther, and Jeremiah. I mean, people like those who helped us to grow. So Kijabe and college, the Christian Union. So while in college, we preached in the whole of the western part of the country, and we formed an evangelistic team called ESET. End Time Soul Harvesters Evangelistic Team.
I can remember that because you came to Thagana in 1995.
Exactly.
Yes.
And and then we met you.
Yes.
By the way, this morning, this morning, you are bringing very precious memories to me, because actually before I came, I got to the studio, I was reminded about a young man called Amos Mirera, whom the Lord connected me with, and he is also probably watching. He is also a media young man. And then I started thinking of the journey we walked together with him. Now you have reminded me about yourself and how we met at Tigoni.
Yes.
And now today we are here with you in Salem, Oregon. Remember Tigoni and remember those days. And
oh my God.
Maybe that should be another story in the book.
Yeah, it should.
And maybe you are the one who should write that chapter and talk about people like Gojo and others.
Yeah, it will be an honor about Derito,
Kuria, Gojo, Derito who married Modoni, who married Martin Kememia.
Married Modoni from Karima.
Yes, yes. Actually, when you called me this morning to tell me to get ready, you are picking me. I was just thanking God in prayer for Pastor Moby, Hannah Moby.
Oh.
Because I started this morning, I started thinking of how you brought me to this new place, Salem, Oregon, which I've never been. That's what I was thinking in the morning. And I was thinking how I arrived late and how you drove all that distance from the airport. And I started asking myself how we connected with you. So I remembered Pastor Moby in Tigoni and how, and Umoja Primary and all that.
All those things.
I started remembering about how you are all in the golf club and you also have a humble beginning.
We also have a brother to Kuria who is here in Oregon. Yes.
What is
his name is Karori.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
I think you'll meet him. I'll make sure you meet him.
Yes. Yeah. No. I remembered of I remembered of all those lives.
Yes.
That got transformed and changed through all that. Back to your question on the transition from teaching. So 1988, God opens a door for me. By the way, this trip to the US, I'm calling it open door trip.
Open door trip.
Open door trip. Oh, and it is based from our theme.
This is open door.
It is open door. It's open.
Community Connect
yes.
Media. You are our first interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is open.
Thank you for having me. It's an open door because the theme of GOA this year from Isaiah 60 verse 11 is an year of open doors. And so I've never been to Oregon before. I actually never imagined that one could be in the flight for all those hours the way I was, 2 flights from Atlanta, and then the change of time. All that. So in the morning I was thinking about this opportunity, coming here, open door, first time to be in this state, new people, and I thought about our connection through Tigoni and all that. So those days that I used to come to preach, when I was preaching to you and other young men in Tigoni with Pastor Hannah Moby the late. I saw the need for starting a ministry because that was 1988, and I felt strongly that there's no way I could go to preach outside when I have not done much within the school where I was in, because I was trained Karima Girls now. So from 1988 I focused a lot in evangelism. In Karima Girls, there was no Christian Union. I focused on establishing a Christian Union.
Yes.
I focused on leading teachers to the Lord and discipling them. In March 1989, we got a breakthrough when the late Principal Catherine Modhoni Kehiohe gave her life to Christ. Lives changed.
Yes.
She became the chairperson of the organization that I was hoping to start in 1990.
Yes.
So she shared the first board of Glory Outreach Assembly as a new believer,
Yes.
and as a beneficiary from my ministry. And then we were joined by other people in the school, people like Mrs. Esther Munyiri, who is today the director of GOA Compassion, people like the husband to Esther, Reverend Peter Munyiri, who was in Egerton those days, found a ministry, a place where they could serve. People like Cecilia Ifai, who was a secretary and a librarian in Karema, today is the mother of the children in our Tumaini home. And so those early connections, relationships in the school are the ones that eventually led us into starting a Glory Outreach Assembly together. And of course, I'm sure you know Pastor John Kareithi.
Yes.
John Kareithi was
engineer?
was a school teacher at Donyonjero Primary. Then long story, another chapter.
Yeah.
But God connected us. God connected us with John Kareithi. We bonded in the spirit and vision, and with other people there called Joshua and a few other people. And the teachers in Karema and ISET, which we had formed from college, where people like my wife Joyce were, although they were posted to other schools like Kirogoya, and people like Kamau Robert, who were in Nakuru.
In Nakuru, yeah.
In Nakuru.
Messiah Celebration Center.
Yes, yeah. And people like Pastor Margaret. Pastor Margaret Muchai, who is now the pastor of Deliverance Church in Two Rivers.
Wow.
Just in my neighborhood there, where I live. Those are the people that we connected and served through ISET. Yes. And people like Engineer Nyori, Baba Makari, who lectures at the university and also is a pastor, I think, with the Redeemed. So those, and people like Bogwa, I don't know, Bogwa is somewhere here in this United States, I think in Nashville somewhere, Robert Bogwa and his wife Wanjiro. People like Pastor Ruth Macharia, yes. And my condolences to Pastor Ruth Macharia. She lost her dad, my friend Kimani in Dida, Kinangop. And I taught her sisters, Lydian, who have become pastors. Yeah. Macharia himself, people like Isaac Kanyinge, who we let alone, who ended up being my host when I first came to the United States in Atlanta and introduced to Beulah Heights Bible College. All those are people whom we met in college, and we were in the same Christian Union. And when you get time, a viewer, just check on my YouTube at Bishop David Munyiri Thagana.
Yes.
And follow a series that I'm doing there, which is called The Power of Relationships. I've done a series on the power of relationships. Series 1, 2, 3, and how to break from relational poverty. What I'm trying to talk about there is, when you hear me talk about people we were with in college, and then we are still connected today in ministry, and when now I am seated here with Anthony, whom I preached to in Tigoni in 1995. Relationships are meant to last, because you never know where they lead you to. And you also don't know how the synergy in these positive relationships, how it leads to changing lives, and how it leads to your destiny. Because everybody's destiny is connected to another person's in one way or the other. Everybody you have met in life, if you look and examine and be sensitive enough, you will learn that relationship must have been helpful somewhere. So sometimes in a negative way, because somebody may have hurt you, so that you end up learning how to deal with people who are hurt. Somebody may have become your enemy, so that the Lord may prepare a table before those enemies.
In those series, do you address how to deal with people who hurts you?
It is a continuation of series. I haven't heard of that, but I'll be doing that.
Okay.
I am laying the foundation
Okay.
on the power of relationships, beginning with Jesus valuing relationships, about telling us about loving our neighbors, loving. So the foundation I have laid so far in that series is that our relationships begin with relationship with God and relationship with one another.
Oh, okay.
In the two commandments. And then they will build out of, from that, they will build to the Great Commission, to going to take the gospel, which is what GOA is about, or rather the ministry that I serve the Lord with. So I transitioned from being a teacher to, I served in Karema Girls for 10 years, from 1988 to 1998.
That is the only school you were posted?
That is the only school that God had
Wow.
my destiny connected with. It is going to have several chapters in my book, because the Lord did many
10
things,
years is
and